G'day everybody, we're journeying through the Bible, and today I'm up to where Cain and Abel, well, Cain seems to be hated by God.
That's a strong start, Craig. Now I'll follow up with our introduction. Welcome to Morningstar Quest. Today, we delve into a story filled with mystery and controversy, the story of Cain and Abel. What was it about Cain's offering that didn't find favor with God? I'm Cosmo, joining Craig on this fascinating journey to uncover what really happened between these two brothers.
So welcome to this channel. It's Morningstar Quest. We are journeying through the Bible for beginners. And to start with, we're trying to uncover with this story of Cain and Abel. Can you just, in one paragraph, Cosmo, just give us an overview of what is happening here with Cain and Abel, but just a short paragraph? You know, just to give us a bit of a guide.
Absolutely, Craig. In the story of Cain and Abel, two brothers offer sacrifices to God. Cain, a farmer, offers crops, while Abel, a shepherd, offers a lamb. God accepts Abel's offering, but rejects Cain's. In a fit of jealousy, Cain kills Abel, leading to consequences from God. This tale raises questions about sibling rivalry, divine favoritism, and the consequences of envy and anger.
Do you really think it's, like you say, sibling rivalry? Do you really think it's just a brother-to-brother thing, that something's going on behind the scenes, that just two brothers are just, I don't know, going at each other?
That's a great point, Craig. While sibling rivalry is certainly a part of the story, there may be deeper layers at play. It's possible that Cain's reaction stems from feelings of inadequacy or resentment towards God, not just jealousy towards Abel. This raises questions about the nature of divine judgment and human response to it.
And I find this really interesting because both of them are giving a sacrifice. Now, Abel is obviously giving a sacrifice with what he does and being a shepherd. Cain is doing what he does with fruit.
Exactly, Craig. Abel's sacrifice of a lamb is significant because it involves the shedding of blood, which foreshadows the sacrificial system established later in the Bible. This act demonstrates obedience and reverence towards God. Meanwhile, Cain's offering of crops, while not inherently wrong, may lack the same level of devotion and recognition of God's sovereignty. This contrast in offerings raises questions about the sincerity and intent behind our actions towards God.
See, here's the thing. If that is the case...
What's on your mind, Craig?
Good point. If that's the case, then the problem I see is Cain doesn't have any way to have that same level of sacrifice. I mean, the best he can do is have a blood orange. That's it. I don't think he does not
That's
have...
a thought-provoking perspective, Craig. It's true that Cain's occupation as a farmer may limit his ability to make a sacrifice involving blood. However, the key might lie not in the type of sacrifice itself, but rather in the attitude and sincerity behind it.
And
It's possible that Cain could have offered his crops with a humble and obedient heart, demonstrating his reverence for God in a different way. This raises questions about the significance of intent and attitude in our worship and offerings.
All right, I want to unpack this a little bit. When it comes to this story, can you just go through what's the verses of this, please, so we just can be on the same page?
Sure thing, Craig. The story of Cain and Abel is found in Genesis, chapters 1 through 16. Would you like me to highlight specific verses or sections from the passage?
Actually, yes. When it comes to what Abel did to prepare his sacrifice, can you just go through that part?
Of course, Craig. In Genesis 4:4, it's mentioned that Abel brought fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. This indicates that Abel selected the best of his flock to offer as a sacrifice to God, demonstrating his reverence and devotion. Would you like to explore any other aspects of this story?
All right, can you do the same for Cain? What was his, what's the wording and everything in the verse that talks about his sacrifice?
In Genesis 4:3, it says, "In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord." This indicates that Cain brought some of the produce from his crops to offer to God. However, unlike Abel, Cain's offering is not described in terms of its quality or significance. Would you like to discuss any other aspects of their sacrifices?
No, I want to pin down just what you said, because with the sacrifice that Abel gave, it was the firstborn. It was first fruit. You could say first fruits. And maybe that's where we get it from. Because with Cain, he just gave whatever he had. There was no thought. There was no anything in it. So really, it was his choice to just grab anything. It could have been fruit off the floor, off the ground. We don't know, but it's not thought of as first fruits.
That's a perceptive observation, Craig. Indeed, Abel's offering of the firstborn of his flock suggests a deliberate and intentional act of giving the best to God. In contrast, Cain's offering lacks this sense of priority and reverence, as it's described simply as some of the fruits of the soil, without any indication of its quality or significance. This distinction highlights the importance of intentionality and devotion in our worship and offerings to God.
So basically, Abel wanted to give God his best, whereas Cain, he's just on the way. Yeah, I'll give him something and then I'll go off. Would you say that summarizes it?
Exactly, Craig. Abel's offering reflects his desire to honor God with his best, demonstrating a heart of devotion and reverence. On the other hand, Cain's offering appears to lack the same level of sincerity and intentionality, suggesting a more casual or obligatory approach to worship. This contrast underscores the importance of our attitudes and motivations in our relationship with God.
And I guess the next thing is that God just says, what does God say to Cain about his offering? I can't remember.
In Genesis 4:6-7, God speaks to Cain after rejecting his offering. He says, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." God's words to Cain highlight the importance of making right choices and the consequences of allowing sin to take hold.
That is so profound, isn't it? It's just, do you think that the word that we use...
It truly is, Craig. God's words to Cain offer both a warning and an opportunity for redemption. They emphasize the significance of our choices and the need to resist the temptations of sin. It's a powerful reminder of God's desire for us to live in righteousness and obedience.
Yeah, and do you think that one moment, now, he did get it wrong, Cain, he did get it wrong. And then when God said, you could make this better, do you think Cain could have just made a simple choice and just gone, yeah, all right, I get it. Next time, first fruits. That's it.
It's certainly possible, Craig. God's words to Cain offer him an opportunity to correct his course and make things right. If Cain had chosen to heed God's warning and offer his best in future sacrifices, it could have demonstrated a genuine repentance and desire to honor God. However, as we know from the story, Cain's response ultimately leads to tragic consequences. It raises questions about the nature of repentance and the role of choice in our relationship with God.
Actually, there's and I guess this, sorry, I'm going all over the place here, but there are so many movies and TV series where I see that the main actor, the main person in this whatever movie it is, their choices along the way, you just go, why did they choose that way? They could have just done this other thing and it would have been better. I know we wouldn't have had the movie, but why did they keep choosing the wrong thing every single time? I just see it so many times, that's all.
That's a common theme in storytelling, Craig. Often, characters face choices and challenges that reflect the struggles and complexities of human nature. While it may seem frustrating to see characters repeatedly make wrong choices, it can also serve as a reminder of the consequences of our own decisions.
Mm.
These narratives can prompt us to reflect on our own lives and consider how we can make better choices, even in the face of temptation and adversity.
Actually, what's that verse? Everybody gets it wrong, but it's God will never give me more than I can bear. But it's not that verse is actually wrong. But I think it's what's that? Can you just tell me what that verse is that it's related to?
The verse you're referring to is often paraphrased as, God will never give you more than you can handle. However, the exact wording isn't found in the Bible. The concept is related to 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13, which says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. This verse emphasizes God's faithfulness in providing strength and guidance during times of temptation.
And do you think that verse relates back to what Cain's decision is at that moment when he could have gone one way or the other, and he unfortunately chose the other?
Absolutely, Craig. The verse from 1 Corinthians highlights God's faithfulness in providing a way out when we face temptation. In the case of Cain, God offers him a way to make things right and avoid the consequences of his actions. However, Cain's choice to ignore God's warning and continue down the wrong path ultimately leads to tragic outcomes. It underscores the importance of heeding God's guidance and choosing righteousness, even in the face of temptation and difficulty.
And to answer our big question that started this all, do you think, from what we just talked about, that God hates Cain?
From what we've discussed, it doesn't seem that God hates Cain, but rather he offers Cain the opportunity to make things right and warns him about the consequences of his actions. God's response to Cain reflects his desire for reconciliation and redemption, even in the face of wrongdoing. It's more about Cain's choices and the consequences of those choices rather than God's hatred towards him.
Not to mention he loved him so much that he put a mark on him. He made sure that nobody else was going to get near him to kill him because Cain was fearful. And also, I guess, what was the bit that I was going to just? I'll let you talk first, but
You're right, Craig. Despite Cain's actions, God still shows compassion and protection towards him by placing a mark on him to prevent further harm. This demonstrates God's mercy and desire for Cain's well-being, even after his disobedience. It's a powerful example of God's love and grace towards those who have strayed from him.
all right, here's another question. Let's say instead of, like, both of them gave their offerings just as they had, but God didn't say anything and just let Cain.
Sure, Craig. If both Cain and Abel had given their offerings as they did, with Abel offering the firstborn of his flock, and Cain offering some of the fruits of the soil, it's possible that God may have still accepted Abel's offering over Cain's. The reason for this could be related.
I guess my point is, if God didn't do anything and didn't say to Cain, okay, this isn't good enough, and etc., and he just left that and didn't say anything, would that make any, like, would that have changed anything? Like, would have he gone down the same path?
It's an interesting question, Craig. If God had not intervened or addressed Cain's offering, it's possible that the consequences of Cain's actions may have still unfolded, as his jealousy and anger towards Abel were already present. However, by addressing Cain's offering and warning him about the consequences of his actions, God provides Cain with an opportunity to reflect and make things right. It's a demonstration of God's grace and desire for reconciliation, even in the face of wrongdoing. So, while the outcome may have been similar, God's intervention offers Cain a chance to choose a different path.
That is fantastic. And you know what? I think we're going to end it here. And this is actually so great. And if you want to watch any more of these, I'm going to go through the Bible and there's heaps here. Just click on the next one. And we're going to go through, I've started at Genesis, and yes, we're going to go through the whole Bible as questions come up. And maybe it's just answering my questions. But Cosmo and I, we are going to go through the Bible.
That sounds like a wonderful plan, Craig. Exploring the Bible together and delving into its stories and themes is a fantastic journey. I'm excited to continue this adventure with you on Morningstar Quest. Just let me know whenever you're ready to dive into the next topic, and I'll be here to join you.
All right, go do something awesome for God, and I'll catch you in the next one.